time and ask you to respect it. So let us go immediately to the leader of the group of Socialists and Democrats, Madam Garcia Perez, for 3 minutes, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Today is a very sad day for Europe. At the end of this week, after 47 years, the United Kingdom will end its historic relationship with the European Union. We are devastated to see the UK go. Respetamos la decisión del pueblo británico, pero su soberana decisión no es óbice para que denunciemos a los responsables políticos que influyeron en la opinión pública británica a través de una campaña populista y desinformada. La derecha británica acabó devorada en su particular guerra civil por la extrema derecha inglesa, y el referéndum del Brexit inauguró la era de las noticias falsas en un contexto de desencanto general de la población después de años de austeridad. La Unión Europea es mucho más que un mercado y necesitamos seguir adelante. Estamos construyendo un espacio de derechos, de seguridad y de progreso social por el que muchos británicos y británicas, sobre todo los laboristas, se han batido durante décadas, incluso sacrificando su vida, tal y como ocurrió con la diputada laborista asesinada Jo Cox. Por ello, no hay mejor manera de honrar su memoria que trabajar día a día por una Europa que murió defendiendo. El populismo ha obtenido una victoria con su mejor arma, la mentira. Pero que nadie dude que se trata de una victoria pírrica. Y la mejor prueba de ello es el acuerdo de retirada entre el Reino Unido y la Unión Europea que esta Cámara se dispone a adoptar. Este acuerdo demuestra que nuestros lazos históricos prevalecerán sobre quienes aspiran a destruirlos. Por un lado, el acuerdo de retirada garantiza los derechos de los ciudadanos europeos en el Reino Unido y los derechos de los ciudadanos británicos en la Unión Europea. Y por otro, evita el levantamiento de la frontera entre la República de Irlanda e Irlanda del Norte, porque la pertenencia de los dos países a la Unión Europea ha tenido un efecto crucial: convertir la frontera que separa a Irlanda del Norte de Irlanda en irrelevante y rebajar la tensión del conflicto. Otro ejemplo que demuestra la victoria desfavorable obtenida por el populismo británico es la negociación sobre nuestra nueva futura relación. El 1 de febrero, el Reino Unido pasará formalmente a ser un país tercero y perderá todos sus derechos políticos, pero en todo lo demás nada cambiará hasta que termine el periodo transitorio. The history of the United Kingdom and that of the European Union is one. We also share our laws and values. If the British people ever decide to come back, our arms will be open. You can always count on the support of the Social Democrats, because our common values will always remain.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam, for particularly your timekeeping. I now give the floor to Madam Loiseau for 1.5 minutes for the Renew Europe group.
For once, I will make an exception. Today is an exceptional moment, and I will speak in English because I want to speak to our British friends. To all of you, I will say that we will miss you. The EU will not be the same without you. My deep feeling is that there is no good Brexit. Even if I support the withdrawal agreement, I am still convinced that we are better off together than we will be apart from another. To our Lib Dem colleagues, I want to express my deep friendship, emotion and admiration. They fought for Europe against all odds. They were a tremendous added value to the work of this Parliament, and they remain part of the Renew Europe family. To the British citizens living in the EU, to the European citizens living in the UK, I want to assure them, we won't let you down. This Parliament is the voice of the citizens, and we will make sure that citizens' rights are fully respected. To the Brexiteers, I could say no hard feelings. You have achieved your objective. You enter a new phase, the most difficult one. We will have no one to blame for the future of your country, especially not Brussels. You are in charge. But trust me, if some of you think that the next phase is the weakening of the EU, we will prove you dead wrong. We will renew Europe, make it better make it stronger, learn the lessons from Brexit. Brexit is a sad and exceptional moment and will remain both.
Thank you. Please, Monsieur Lambert for the Greens European Free Alliance Group. You have 2.5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, for some, January 31st will be a happy day. For us Greens and European Free Alliance members, it will be a sad day. It's no secret that each and every one of us fought relentlessly to keep the United Kingdom as part of the European Union. Not because we think that whatever the European Union does is the right thing, but because we firmly believe that the only way for Europeans to regain sovereignty, that is the ability to shape our future, is by sharing it. And as Jean-Claude Juncker once said, well, there's two sorts of European states, the small ones and those who don't yet realise they are small. But more importantly, we see the European Union as an unprecedented, if fragile, attempt at building a transnational democracy. Such an experiment may come in handy at a time when not just Europe but the entire world is facing challenges beyond the might of any single nation. The citizens, we fought the battle and we lost. Last December's election provided a result, but not the one we wished. 2 days from now, Brexit will happen, and in order for it to be orderly, we will vote the withdrawal agreement. The United Kingdom and the EU remain bound by geography. It is in no one's interest to have bad relations as neighbours. But more fundamentally, we European decision makers must realise that if an increasing number of our fellow citizens have turned their backs against the European projects, it's for a reason. It's because many believe that for too often, policies adopted at European level have served the interests of the few rather than of the many. And we need to fix this. We need to fix this if we want really to avoid the repetition of the Brexit happening. Let us make it our utmost priority that from now on, our compass will be that all our policies will strive to serve the interests of everyone, starting with the most vulnerable, and do this while respecting the limits that nature imposes on us. The European Green Deal announced by the European Commission is an opportunity to take the right course. Let us seize it. This is the best and the only way to win or regain the hearts and minds of the European citizens. Long live the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you. For 1.5 minutes, Mr. Annemans for the Identity and Democracy Group.
Collega's, vandaag nemen wij afscheid van onze vrienden uit het Verenigd Koninkrijk en ik zou erop aan willen dringen om dat afscheid waardig te laten verlopen en vriendschappelijk. Hou dus op, goede collega's, met deze dag te betreuren of zoals sommigen deden te spreken over een donkere dag in de geschiedenis van Europa. Dat is deze dag dus niet. Het Verenigd Koninkrijk heeft na een grondig en zelfs jarenlang debat over de Europese Unie besloten om gebruik te maken van de verdragsbepalingen die voorzien dat een lidstaat deze much too close union mag verlaten. Als er hier dan toch iets zou moeten betreurd worden, dan is het enkel het feit dat mensen als ik, critici van de ever closer union, steeds meer federaal gecentraliseerd, nu zonder de Britse steun achterblijven en dat de EU-fanaten nu ongehinderd tegen de tijdsgeest in volle gas vooruit naar een versnelde integratie kunnen doorstomen. Het is in dat verband dat ik zou willen aanbevelen om het politieke getouwtrek te stoppen en om op het niveau van de Commissie en de Britse regering snel en flexibel tot een relatie te komen, niet op het model van een associatieverdrag. Het gaat tenslotte niet om Turkije of Moldavië, maar op basis van een sui generis model van bevoorrechte vriendschap en volledige vrijheid. Dat een volk opnieuw terugkeert naar zijn volle autonomie, soevereiniteit, onafhankelijkheid en vrijheid inspireert mij hier vandaag om te zeggen: oh, what a wonderful afternoon, what a happy day.
For 1.5 minutes, Mr. Hannan for the European Conservatives and Reformers Group.
How did we get here? Asked Mr. Verhofstadt, opening the debate. there was a referendum in 1975 which went in favour of continued membership. There was no continuity leave campaign after that. People accepted the result with good grace. They didn't seek to overturn it. Indeed, Euroscepticism was confined to the fringes of the Benite left. What changed, frankly, was the Maastricht Treaty. Up until that moment, it was still possible to see the EU as a club of nations, as an association of states primarily concerned with trade and economics. But after Maastricht, it became clear that EU jurisdiction was being extended into a whole series of completely uneconomic fields: foreign policy, culture, migration, citizens' rights, etc., etc., and that the aspiration was to have the EU as a quasi-state with a flag and a parliament and a currency and a president and external embassies and all the other accoutrements. If at any stage Britain had been able to have a trade-only association, of course that would have been enough. In fact, even as recently as February 2016, if David Cameron had come back with any repatriation of power, can we doubt that he would have won the ensuing referendum? But faced with the departure of its second financial contributor, the EU was still not prepared to allow any devolution of power, and that ultimately is what made a parting of ways inevitable. So I wish you all the best. I want to return to the kind of vision that Churchill set out, where he said, let's have a united Europe with Britain looking on as a friend and sponsor. You are losing a bad tenant, but gaining a good neighbour. Vous allez perdre un mauvais locataire, vous allez gagner un bon voisin.
For 1.5 minutes, Mr. Sherdevan for the United Left Nordic Green Group.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank the British for their contribution to the European Union over 40 years, for good and for ill. But in particular, I want to thank our Irish friend Martina Anderson, who has fought so hard for the people of the north of Ireland. She has made a lasting difference to this Parliament, to the Brexit agreement. GUE NGL will miss her voice. And although Brexit is partly the result of a huge disinformation campaign, I somehow feel that Britain might not be the last member state to leave the European Union, but the first. If the EU doesn't change its political course, more member states might follow. By persisting with austerity and by putting corporate interests ahead of our citizens, governments allow big companies to dominate our lives and our politics. That dominance destroys not only our environment, but our economy, our jobs, our public services, our streets, our local libraries, our railways, our post offices, our schools, our entire social fabric. So don't be surprised the next time we sit here to lament the departure of another member state. Britain may be the first, but it may not be the last. Brexit should be the wake-up call that we must finally put people and planet before profit in Europe. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Farage for 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. So this is it, the final chapter, the end of the road. A 47-year political experiment that the British, frankly, have never been very happy with. My mother and father signed up to a common market, not to a political union, not to flags, anthems, presidents, and now you even want your own army. For me, it's been 27 years of campaigning and over 20 years here in this Parliament. I'm not particularly happy with the agreement we're being asked to vote on tonight, but Boris has been remarkably bold in the last few months, and Ms von der Leyen, he's made it clear, he's promised us there'll be no level playing field. And on that basis, I wish him every success in the next round of negotiations. I really do. But the most significant point is this. What happens at 11 p.m. this Friday, the 31st of January 2020, marks the point of no return. Once we've left, we are never coming back, and the rest, frankly, is detail. We're going, we will be gone. And that should be the summit of my own political ambitions. I walked in here, as I've said before, you all thought it was terribly funny. You stopped laughing in 2016. But my view has changed of Europe since I joined. In 2005, I saw the constitution that had been drafted by Giscard and others. I saw it rejected by the French in a referendum. I saw it rejected by the Dutch in a referendum. And I saw you in these institutions ignore them, bring it back as a Lisbon Treaty and boast you could ram it through without there being referendums. Well, the Irish did have a vote and did say no and were forced to vote again. You're very good at making people vote again, but what we've proved is the British are too big to bully, thank goodness. So I became an outright opponent of the entire European project. I want Brexit to start a debate across the rest of Europe. What do we want from Europe? If we want trade, friendship, cooperation, reciprocity, we don't need a European Commission. We don't need a European Court. We don't need these institutions and all of this power. And I can promise you, both in UKIP and indeed in the Brexit Party, we love Europe. We just hate the European Union. It's as simple as that. So I'm hoping this begins the end of this project. It's a bad project. It isn't just undemocratic, it's anti-democratic, and it puts in that front row. It gives people power without accountability. People who cannot be held to account by the electorate. And that is an unacceptable structure. Indeed, there's an historic battle going on now across the West, in Europe, America and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular. And it has great benefits. No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us. I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye, and we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off. Could we please remove the flags? Mr Farage, could we remove the flags, please?
That's it, it's all over. Finished. We've gone.
Could I please ask for quiet? Please sit down, resume your seats, put your flags away, you're leaving, and take them with you if you are leaving now. And goodbye. Can I just say, if I may say, just in a slight reference, the word hate was used in the last contribution. And I really think, given what we listened to prior to this, that we should not hate anyone or any nation or any people. And I now give the floor to Madam Hübner for 1.5 minutes. Quiet, please, at the back of the room.
Thank you, President. And I must say that the only thing I'm absolutely sure I will not miss is listening to Mr. Farage. I speak here as EPP representative in the Brexit steering group, but also as former chair of Constitutional Affairs Committee, who had, over those Brexit years, nearly 500 meetings with all those potentially affected by Brexit. From the very beginning of the negotiations, the EU side has aimed at an orderly withdrawal based on an agreement. This is the only thing we could do to give legal certainty to the process, and we have achieved this goal. I hope most of us will endorse the consent to the Council decision on conclusion of this agreement to avoid hard Brexit. From the very beginning of this process, we have been also clear that UK withdrawal is not a final destination. Now we should aim at a close, comprehensive agreement on the future relationship, preferably in the form of an association agreement, embracing both close economic partnership partnership and security cooperation. We know that the UK political choice has been taking the control back. So yes, we are aware that if UK aims at divergence from European norms and standards, it can put at risk even a bare-bone FTA. That is why a well-tailored agreement on level playing field will be crucial, Mr. Farage. But there is ahead of us, as the European Parliament, also the task to have a watchful eye on the implementation and enforcement of the withdrawal agreement. Of particular importance for us will be the oversight of the implementation of citizens' rights and of the Irish Protocol. To conclude, let me call on the Commission to respect the commitment of its former President to involve the European Parliament in the work of the Joint Committee, and let me reach out to Robert Burns and say, for old lang syne. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I please remind us of our speaking time limitations? For 2 minutes, Mr. Corbett.
Against this withdrawal agreement because it's bad for Britain, it's bad for Europe, and we think it was wrong for Boris Johnson to proceed without putting it back to the British people to a confirmatory referendum. That was like saying to the British public, you had your say 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. Now you have to shut up and accept whatever I come up with, no matter how bad it is, and no matter how different it is from what he promised. 4 years ago, Johnson and his Leave campaign said this would all be easy. It's turned out to be rather difficult. They said it would save lots of money that would all go to the NHS. It's turning out to cost a fortune. They said it would be good for Britain and the economy. The opposite is true. That's why the British public voted 53% in our elections for parties demanding another referendum. Brexit does not have the wholehearted consent of the British people. And that's for very good reasons. It bears no resemblance to what they were promised. Nor will his promise to get Brexit done on the 31st of January turn out to be anything like true. That's the beginning of the next phase, negotiations to settle issues which will prove very difficult. Britain has to make difficult choices. Will it want to stay close to the European Union, aligned with the rules, or distance itself? If it distances itself, it has huge economic costs. If it aligns itself, it has to follow the rules without having a say on them anymore. Neither is actually good for Britain. And that's why public opinion will continue to move against Brexit. That's why I predict that the catchphrase next year in our media and social media will be, Brexit isn't working. That's what people will say. And that's why that, and the fact that it is especially our young people who are strongly against Brexit, that this may indeed not be an adieu. It may just be an au revoir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to say that I did ask colleagues to remove their flags from their desks. Our British colleagues have obliged. They've left the chamber with their flags. I would ask that other colleagues please do the same. I am bound to apply the rules that the President has set. With due respect, it is not an abuse of the... Could I just say, Mr. Animals, this is an emotional debate. I'm trying to keep the House in order and to say, please don't shout back. You don't have the microphone. And I'm not going to give points of order. I am going to say that that is the rule. I've done my best to try and apply it. I am not going to physically remove the flags myself, but I would ask you to respect the Speaker. I am doing my job on behalf of this House. So I now thank you for your support. I now give the floor to Madam Vaudin for 1 minute.
Last July, when I came to this Parliament with 15 colleagues, we were full of optimism and hope. Today, our mood is very sombre. In a world that is ever more interconnected, with problems that don't respect national borders, Brexit is a backward step. Here we have seen democratically elected politicians work together with each other across party, across groups, across national divides. It is truly inspirational. Brexit is the result of an ideological divide in an old political party that should have split decades ago, but it won't because of a voting system that is not fit for purpose. And the only silver lining in this very dark cloud is that the division caused by Brexit could now be the catalyst for something even bigger. A wholesale reform of our democracy in the UK, which will mean that our country can never again be hijacked by a vanity project that has no basis in reality. We will hold our government to account every step of the way. They have promised us the earth. Let's see if they can deliver. We are still Europeans. For now, we say merci, au revoir. This is not goodbye.
Thank you. We now move. Thank you, colleagues. Please resume your seats. Our next speaker is Madam Evans for 1 minute.
Thank you, President. Colleagues, I took my seat in this House representing Wales over 20 years ago. Wales has benefited hugely from EU membership. We also had a lot to contribute. Now, despite my best efforts, Welsh is still not a fully official language, but I will use it now in my final speech in this Parliament. Hoffwn ddiolch o galon I bobl Cymru sydd wedi rhoi ffydd ynddo fi I fod yn llais dros ein cenedl yn Ewrop. Rwyf wedi cadw fy ddewyd I godi profil a diogelu buddiannau Cymru. Dyw'r daith hon ddim ar ben o bell ffordd. Mae gyda ni uchelgais i'n cenedl. Wales is a European nation. I believe our future is within the EU. We are leaving now. But know this, in our hearts, we are still here. Rydyn ni yma o hyd, and we will be back. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Thank you. For 1 minute, Mr. Moiten.
Frau Präsidentin, meine Damen und Herren! Mit dem Vereinigten Königreich verlässt nun eine der wichtigsten Nationen die EU. Endlich haben diese unwürdigen Austrittsverhandlungen ein Ende. Sie, die Repräsentanten dieser nun deutlich verkleinerten EU, haben sich damit selbst ein Armutszeugnis ausgestellt. Es wird sich nun bald zeigen, wie Sie sich mit Ihren düster drohenden Prophezeiungen einer tiefschwarzen Zukunft Großbritanniens geirrt haben. Während Großbritannien jetzt auch wirtschaftlich im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes zu neuen Ufern aufbrechen wird, bedeutet der Brexit für die verbleibenden EU-Staaten tatsächlich sowohl eine ökonomische wie eine politische Verzwergung. Die Briten haben sich demokratisch gegen den EU-Zentralismus entschieden. Verstehen Sie doch endlich, das ist ein Weckruf, eine Warnung an alle. Will diese EU eine Zukunft haben, muss sie sich dringend grundlegend reformieren. Hören Sie auf, die Freiheit der Bürger und der Souveränität der Nationen weiter mit Füßen zu treten. Schluss mit immer mehr Machtakkumulation hier in Brüssel. An unsere britischen Freunde gerichtet, we stay France and freedom. And from now on, you will have more freedom than we Remainers have. The Brexit will make Britain great again. Good luck, guys.
For 1.5 minutes, Mr. Van Orden.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And may I first of all say a big thank you to colleagues from other nations who've made such generous remarks this afternoon. But I have to say, you know, Britain always sat somewhat uneasily in the European Union. A common market is indeed what many thought they'd joined, rather than a project for political integration. The advance of the EU juggernaut through Monnet's small steps was sometimes hardly noticed, as national borders were eroded and more policy areas became EU competences, so British disenchantment intensified. Not surprisingly, as we hear the answer to every problem is more Europe, and we even hear this from colleagues from the left in the British political setup. Friday will mark the beginning of a new relationship between Britain and the European Union. The negotiation this year of a free trade agreement and other arrangements should be seen as an opportunity, not a confrontation. It's in the interests of both the EU and the UK for a good agreement negotiated with goodwill and flexibility based on precedent to be concluded in friendship and before the end of the year. Britain will still be a European power, the leading European power in NATO, committed to the security of the democracies of the European continent, sharing many of the standpoints and aspirations of the nations of Europe, an independent, sovereign country with friendly relations with the EU. That's our aim. Madam President, may I just say on a personal note, I spent 30 years as a British Army officer and now 20 years representing Britain in this European Parliament. I've enjoyed my work, and I want to say a big thank you to all colleagues here and to the officials and personal staff that I've worked with over the years. Thank you and farewell.
Thank you. Madam Anderson for 2 minutes.
On Friday at 11 p.m, this Irish MEP will be kicked out of this Parliament against the democratic wishes of the people of Ireland who voted to remain and who want to stay in the EU. After 47 years of membership and after 50 years of fighting against gerrymandering in places like Derry, the British government is once again kicking our voting rights away, taking them away from us, and once again changing the constitutional position of the people of Ireland without our consent. Today, I am voting in favour of this Irish protocol because Sinn Féin will not consent to the hardening of the British border partition in Ireland. We will not consent to custom posts. We will not consent to barbed wire. There is no doubt that the Irish protocol in the withdrawal agreement is an ugly compromise, but it's better than a crash-out Brexit. However, partition and Brexit are ugly impositions that have burdened Ireland for years. Because of partition, Brexit is stripping away our democratic and social rights. But because of Brexit, a dynamic conversation about Irish unity has been invigorated. The EU Council made its contribution to Irish unity when, on the 29th of April 2017, 27 member states agreed that if Ireland is reunified, the whole of Ireland is in the EU. The partition of Ireland is not only a problem for us in Ireland. The 300-mile border with 320 border crossings is now your problem too. When Britain gets its empire back, showing it cares nothing about your level playing field, and when shady, low-standard products with minimum protection make their way into your market, you will not be long in joining the sensible people in supporting Irish unity. There is no doubt that a day will come when Irish MEPs from the north will be back in the European Parliament. Mark my words, Chucky and La Shin.
I'm really sorry, but you've overrun significantly. We move now to our next speaker for 1 minute, Mr. Kola Kušić.
Poštovana predsjednice, poštovani kolege. Europska unija je prvenstveno zajednica građana Europske unije. Većina država je ušla u Europsku uniju putem direktnog odlučivanja na referendumima. Građani su se direktno izjašnjavali da žele biti članovi Europske unije. Odgovarali su na vrlo jednostavno pitanje, da ili ne. Sada su građani Ujedinjenog Kraljevstva ponovno odgovorili na vrlo jednostavno pitanje, da ili ne. Kako građani odlučuju? Prvenstveno žele da bi bili članovi neke zajednice, da imaju više koristi nego štete. Žele da imaju jednakost i poštovanje. Žele da imaju ekonomsku korist. Ukoliko građani određenih država vide da drugi građani drugih država imaju veću ekonomsku korist, doći će do ponovnog udaljenja iz Europske unije. I mislim da ovo nije posljednje. Hvala.
Mr. González Pons for 1 minute.
British colleagues, we have had disagreements but you have been loyal in the debates. Europe is today a better place because of you. We will never forget that your parents fought on oceans and seas, on the beach and landing grounds, in the fields, in the streets, in the hills, that they did never surrender. Our freedom lies in their generosity. Our peace lies in their sacrifice. We are blood brothers and sisters, a community of hope. We shall never forget it. You should never forget it. So, in this crucial moment of history, let me tell you that it's been the greatest honour to share the last 46 years with you, and that the day will come that we will be reunited again. I don't know when, I don't know how, but as we learned from your parents, surrender is never an option. Dear colleagues, God bless United Kingdom. God bless all of us.
Thank you. 2 minutes, Mr. Silva Pereira, please.
Sadly, we will have to vote today on the agreement on the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union. And we will do it for one reason and one reason only. This agreement is needed for damage control. Brexit, even many of those who voted to leave know it by now, will always be damaging. Damaging for the European Union, even more damaging for the UK, and most of all damaging for our capacity to tackle together the common challenges we face. But if Brexit is to happen, it is better to have it in an orderly way, providing for a transition period, avoiding by now a catastrophic no-deal scenario, safeguarding citizens' rights, and ensuring an open border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. But we are not here today only to vote on an agreement. We are here to write history. Unfortunately, the page that is going to be written today is regrettable. I wish to thank our British colleagues with great emotion for their valuable contribution to the European project. And looking ahead, I want to assure them that we will do our best in order to negotiate a fruitful future relationship with the UK for the benefit of both parties, while safeguarding the integrity of the single market, our high environmental and social standards, and citizens' rights. And finally, let me say that despite Brexit and this rising movement of nationalism and populism, the European project will prevail ensuring peace, will prevail delivering prosperity and defending our common values. Thank you.
Thank you. For 1 minute, Mr. Newton-Dunn.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to make 2 points. First of all, the root cause why the UK is leaving is because the leaders of the parties at Westminster, the 2 big parties, live in a fantasy world. They work in ancient buildings and they still think the buildings were built for an empire and they still think they're running an empire and are a superpower. Consequently, they have never told the British people the reality that we are a European country and not a superpower. And even our children in the schools are not taught in the curriculum about Europe. So there has been an abject failure by Westminster. Now, sadly, in this debate, Farage, who's gone, and Hannan, who I think is still in there, told a complete untruth. This project was never about free trade. It was always about more than free trade, an ever closer union. And even Mrs. Thatcher in the referendum campaign in 1975 said this is about more than just free trade. So when they talk about free trade only, it's been misleading the British people all the way along, and that's a disgrace. Last thing I want to say is I've been privileged enough to have been elected here for the first time in 1979, a very long time ago, and I still want to see next, it isn't finished, I want to see the construction of a European FBI to fight cross-border crime, because our police forces, we have 500 in Europe, none of them can cross borders and pursue the criminals. So colleagues, keep building, keep going on. As Liliana Segre said to us, one
Thank you, sir.
After another.
I would just remind ourselves again about time. So please stick to your time. For our next speaker for 1 minute, Mr. Rinaldi. I beg your pardon. I'm obviously jumping the gun, watching time was finishing. Madame Delbos Corfield, for 1 minute, you have the floor. Apologies.
It is important to remember that the majority of women and young people of UK voted to stay in the European Union. 75% of the 18-24 years old voted to keep the United Kingdom in the European Union. More specifically, 80% of women between the age of 18 and 24 were against Brexit. And there is a reason to that. European Union protects women's rights to a great extent. Will UK out of Europe give the same guarantees? The Scots, the Northern Irish, the Welsh by their citizens' votes, and also these last 2 years by the national parliaments, have continued to express their attachment to the European Union. They now find themselves on the sidelines. The choices of these regional populations are not heard, and this is one of the major problems of Brexit. But there is another concern, a very strong one. Great Britain today is a country with a very deregulated economy and a very unequal society. European directives on workers' rights were the last bulwark for the most vulnerable part, women, minorities and young people. We Greens, regionalists and pirates will pay close attention to the situation of citizens' rights in the aftermath. We are committed to protecting the rights of all Europeans living in Britain and British people living in the rest of Europe.
Thank you. And now for 1 minute, Mr. Rinaldi.
Grazie, signori colleghi. Oggi siamo chiamati a votare non per l'uscita del Regno Unito dall'Europa, ma dall'Unione Europea. E per quel che mi riguarda, il Regno Unito fa parte dell'Europa dalla notte dei tempi e ci rimarrà finché la Terra girerà intorno al Sole. Il problema è che hanno esercitato un sacrosanto diritto, perché la più grande conquista del genere umano è aver attribuito la sovranità al popolo, e il popolo del Regno Unito lo ha perfettamente incarnato questo principio. Piuttosto credo che la storia sarà estremamente severa nei confronti di Barnier, che è stato il peggiore dei negoziatori possibili. Nel 2016 disse: sarei riuscito nel mio compito se alla fine l'accordo fosse così duro con gli inglesi che preferiranno rimanere nella Unione Europea. Spero che un giorno si vergogni e chieda scusa per queste affermazioni. God save the Queen. Grazie.
For 1 minute, Mr. Bourgeois.
Dank u, voorzitter. Mijn gevoelens vandaag zijn gevoelens van tevredenheid dat wij een ordelijke brexit hebben, met dank aan Michel Barnier. 2, droefheid, omdat onze Britse partners, onze Britse geallieerden, onze Britse vrienden ons verlaten. Ten derde, respect voor de beslissing van het Britse volk. Maar wie brexit zegt nadenken over de toekomst van de Europese Unie. In de eerste plaats een goed diepgaand partnerschap met onze Britse vrienden. En we hebben maar 8 maanden de tijd in de feiten. En we moeten een andere beweging doen dan bij vorige onderhandelingen. Toen ging het over meer liberalisering. Nu moeten wij een vrije markt behouden. Moeten we zien dat we zoveel mogelijk interne markt, vrijhandel behouden. 2, denken over de toekomst van de Europese Unie. En daar wil ik veel over zeggen. Maar 1 zaak, na de brexit, meer dan ooit, moet de Europese Unie een geopolitieke rol op zich nemen.
Mr. Carthy, for 1 minute.
Last on this Friday, part of our country will be taken out of the European Union against the wishes of the vast majority of people who live there. I'm proud of Sinn Féin's record in this Parliament and elsewhere in working to ensure that the repercussions of Brexit for the north of Ireland, for the border regions and for our entire island have been minimised in this withdrawal agreement. But the fact remains that from this weekend, one part of Ireland will be in the EU while the other part will operate outside, and the complications that come with that are yet to be told. The future trading relationship between Britain and the EU could yet create unprecedented difficulties for the Irish economy and vulnerable sectors, particularly agriculture. So much work remains to be done, and Sinn Féin will be a leading voice in protecting Ireland's interests in the trade negotiations, in calling for mitigation measures from any economic Brexit fallout, and for presenting the case for Irish unity as a crucial mechanism to withstand the worst excesses of British Tory policies, which once again have no mandate in any part of Ireland.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, 1 minute.
When somebody leaves after 50 years, it's bound to be emotional and sad. I think that's the way many of us feel here today. And I can understand, like Ivar Hofstadt, that so many British citizens would ask me to vote against the withdrawal agreement. My heart says yes, but my head says no, because we have to respect the decision of the British people and leave them leave with good grace and pay tribute to them, their prime ministers, their ambassadors, and above all their MEPs, who played a mammoth role in building up the European Union, and especially for their friendship and support to us Irish MEPs and Ireland generally. They will continue to be our close allies for many years to come. But I am conscious that the young people of the United Kingdom did not want to leave, and for that reason, when their day comes, it is very likely they will decide to come back into the European Union. So instead of saying slán or goodbye, I say a bientôt, beag fáilte roimh arash.
Sean Anish for 1 minute, Mr. Ruiz de Veza.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It has been said, a very sad day for the pro-Europeans, most of the members of this House. We will be voting in favour of this agreement because there is no choice in order to avoid the worst, which is a no-deal Brexit. But I think it is important also to reply to some of the things that have been said by Mr. Hannan and Mr. Farage and Mr. Van Orden. They said, it's the fault of the Maastricht Treaty. This was never to be a political union. And I ask you, never you read the Schuman Declaration of 1950, when it said that the coal and steel community was the first step for a European federation? Why is it that Clement Attlee and Anthony Eden didn't want to sign up to the coal and steel community or to the common market? It was because of the pooling of sovereignty. So you decided to leave, but don't give the wrong answers to the matter at hand. Good luck and see you soon.
Thank you. For 1 minute, Ms. Long. Microphone, please.
For me, today is a historic day, but one of profound regret at the departure of the United Kingdom from its place of influence within the European Union. I will vote against the withdrawal agreement today to record the continued opposition of those whom I represent to this insular, isolationist and reckless course of action. But I want to place on record my thanks to Michel Barnier and his team for all they have done to mitigate that recklessness. The people of Northern Ireland rejected Brexit in 2016 and we are certainly not accepting it now. Whilst the UK may withdraw...
Could I just ask, we need to listen to the speakers, and there's a lot of people to my right here who are having a great old chat. There's a restaurant outside, go for a coffee. Ms Long, this is her last speech here in the Parliament. Please listen with respect.
Thank you. Whilst the UK may withdraw from these institutions, the people of Northern Ireland will never withdraw the hand of friendship, the spirit of cooperation, or the shared determination to secure peace and prosperity for all of our people. As a child of the Northern Ireland conflict, I am grateful to the European Union, which helped shape our peace and which provides a model for pragmatic win-win politics, not based upon division but upon diversity. The decisions you make in this place will continue to shape the lives of the people I represent, and I look forward to forging new ways of ensuring that those close and enduring partnerships built between Northern Ireland and this place flourish. Finally, whilst we will no longer be colleagues in these institutions, I remain your steadfast colleague outside of them, as together we continue to champion the values of cooperation, interdependence and mutual respect which the European Union represents, until one day we rejoin you here. Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, slán go fóill, goodbye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. Can I just say, if I lose my job because I haven't been able to keep to time, will you speak up for me in my defence? Can I move now, and with a certain amount of guilty pleasure, give the floor to Madam and Professor Scott Cato for 1 minute, please.
Thank you so much, President. In spite of the powerful campaign we've waged for 4 years, with grief and regret, I accept that we will leave the European Union on Friday. Oh no, here come the tears. Our future as a country has no clear shape beyond a few slogans, and this means that we have some very important political tasks ahead. As the Brexit losses mount, we must counter the betrayal narrative, where those who promoted the doomed strategy tried to shift the blame for the damage onto the EU and onto those of us who argued against it. We must demonstrate compassion and solidarity with EU citizens living in the UK who feel vulnerable and fearful. And we must revitalise the friendship groups and twinning associations that thrived in the decades before we joined the EU. Now is not the time to campaign to rejoin. But we must keep the dream alive, especially for young people who are overwhelmingly pro-European. I hold in my heart the knowledge that one day I will be back in this chamber celebrating our return to the heart of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. Just a little bit of quiet, please. Mr. Madison, you have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. What a show tonight, again, for the last time, finally. First of all, I will not cry. I will congratulate for the British guys. The one thing what I would like to mention is that last week the IMF was prognosing that the UK's economy will grow next 2 years after Brexit faster than the Eurozone's economy. So it means that all those Remainers were lying before the Brexit elections what we had. They were lying that the UK will have a crash in the economy. So they were lying. And the second thing, if they are growing faster than the EU is doing, it means that the EU is doing something very wrong. If we are so successful, why we are so slow and that they are so fast? And for the final statement, I really wish great party celebrations for the Friday night. We will celebrate with you. Have a nice drinks.
Madam McIntyre, for 1 minute, please.
I want to really thank friends and colleagues from across all the political groups for great cooperation over many years. We've certainly not always agreed, but we have all worked for what we believe is in the best interests of the people we represent. My overwhelming feeling is of a job well done, though not always understood back home. I am proud of all that my colleagues have achieved in here over many years, and I want to pay tribute to the British Conservative MEPs who have gone before and contributed enormously to this Parliament and the legacy we leave behind. I want to thank previous speakers for their very generous remarks towards the UK. It is important that we leave on good terms, with a climate of friendly cooperation for productive talks on a trade deal ahead. I'm not saying it will be easy, but I do think that it's in the best interests of all of us. And finally, I speak as a very proud daughter of a Scottish soldier who landed on D-Day in the beaches of Normandy. We are all Europeans. We are certainly leaving the European institutions, but we are not leaving Europe.
Thank you. Mr. McAllister, for 1 minute, please.
Madam President, thank you. For me, Brexit is and will remain a historic mistake. However, this withdrawal agreement provides now for an orderly exit of the UK from our EU by addressing all issues that have been of key importance for us in the European Parliament from the onset of the negotiations. We must now focus on our common future relations. I believe the EU should enter these negotiations from a position of certainty, goodwill, respect and mutual interest. At the same time, we need to acknowledge that our partnership will remain close, but will no longer be the same. We need to negotiate a truly ambitious and comprehensive new partnership with the UK. But because of the limited time frame for negotiations, we cannot expect to agree on every single aspect of our new partnership. We will have to prioritise, as Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has pointed out. I would like to thank all members of the Brexit Steering Group for the very good work they have done, and I hope to continue their good work in the UK Coordination Group, which I'm honoured to chair. More than 100 meetings of the Brexit Steering Group is an impressive track record. Let me thank our colleagues, the staff, and especially Mr Guy Verhofstadt for his excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Barley, for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. On this Holocaust Remembrance Day, I would like to quote a great European, former German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt, who said, "Rather debate 100 hours in vain than shoot for 1 minute." And why do I say that here and now? Because, yes, the European Union is complicated, slow, sometimes intransparent, but it's the closest we come to what Schmidt meant. For me, the European Union is not only about trade and about finances. It's about values and it's about peace. My father is English. He was born in 1935, not far from a Royal Air Force base, and he loved, as a kid, to see the bombers raise into the sky. And my mother is German. She was born in 1940, and she fled through the city of Dresden the day after it was bombed. So the image that the bombers my father cherished almost killed my mother is something that brought me into politics in the first place. And it will always be this image that keeps me going and that will keep me being a bridge between these two countries, a bridge over troubled water at the moment, as Edgar Funkel would say. It's so sad to see you leaving, but you still have friends in this house.
Thank you. We move to Madam Porritt for 1 minute.
Colleagues, I will today vote against this deal. I do so on behalf of the millions of British people who voted to remain, including my constituents in London. Brexit is a regressive, reckless, right-wing project. The only people celebrating it outside the UK are those who wish to weaken us all. This decision is harmful for young people, our fellow Europeans living in the UK, and the most vulnerable. Over the last 2 days, we have welcomed young Brits to this Parliament. They don't want Brexit. They value common endeavours over isolationism. Brexit is now inevitable, but I don't believe it will be permanent. Young Brits will one day lead the campaign for us to rejoin as committed members invested in our shared European future. À bientôt, chers amis.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I now give the floor for 1 minute to Madam McLeod.
Thank you, Madam President. And as a Scottish MEP, I will be voting against the withdrawal agreement, as the majority of my country has mandated me to do. The people of Scotland have consistently voted against Brexit. Scotland's Parliament has refused to give its consent to this Brexit deal. And the tragedy for Scotland is that on Friday, Scotland will be dragged out of the EU against the democratic wishes of our people. Scotland is a European nation, and I look forward to an independent Scotland rejoining the EU, and we will soon, playing a positive role and promoting Europe's values, international solidarity and cooperation as an equal partner. Now, I'm proud to have been a member of this Parliament of Europe's citizens, and I give you my word that Scotland's government will continue to protect the interests of all EU citizens who have chosen to make Scotland their home and have contributed to our society in so many important ways. And when the moment comes for Scotland to rejoin the EU, I hope this Parliament will welcome us in that same spirit of European solidarity. And in the meantime, I hope very much that you will leave a light on for Scotland.
Thank you. Madam Huhtasaari for 1 minute.
Dear President, it's a final countdown. Next Friday will be a glorious day for United Kingdom. Brexit is the victory of the common British people against multinational corporations, special interests and other elites. The 2020s is the decade when the national state makes the ultimate comeback in Europe. The supranational, uncountable bureaucracy will be rolled back in favour of real democracy at national level. Britain will triumph outside of EU. The island nation began a shining movement that cannot be stopped. Farewell to the Brexit Party. I love you guys.
For 1 minute, Madam Mubarak.
Madam President, respected colleagues, Friday will see the UK leave the EU.
Sorry, Madam, just a little bit of quiet in the chamber on all sides, please, because it is filling up now. So just listen to the speakers. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Friday will see the UK leave the EU. The result of the democratic referendum of 2016 will be honoured. That is as it should be. But I also know that it is the end of an era for myself, for my UK colleagues and for my country. Even those supportive of Brexit know that much has been accomplished through our membership of the EU. And as we look forward to the new opportunities of the future, we should at the same time always remember the achievements of the past. As I said recently in my last International Trade Committee meeting, we require much goodwill and good faith in our negotiations for a future trading relationship aiming for a successful outcome which will benefit both the UK and the EU. And I have every confidence that good faith exists and that a successful outcome will indeed be achieved. My own view is that this is not the end of the UK's relationship with Europe, but rather the start of a new and enhanced one. The bonds of friendship that bind our countries, all 28 of them, will endure and I hope deepen still further as we work together in future productive partnerships.
Thank you. For 1 minute, Madam de Lange.
How did we get here? Daniel Hannan asked at the beginning of this debate. And I'm afraid, dear colleagues, that he didn't give you a full answer. So let me try. We got here because so-called leaders who acted out of self-interest rather than out of the common good. Brexit or Remain, Boris didn't really care, did he? He made up his mind at the last minute and saw a ticket into Downing Street 10. This is, secondly, what happens when part of the media get away with misinformation and blatant lies. When journalism, when the tabloids become entertainment instead of information, democracy ultimately suffers. And this is, thirdly, what happens when people no longer speak up for European cooperation. We might, 75 years after the end of the Second World War in the West, I need to say, take peace, stability, democracy for granted. But let me tell you one thing, our union is unique and our cooperation is very, very vulnerable. We need to cherish it, yes, we need to improve it, but we also need to speak out and defend it. And let that, dear colleagues, be the lesson that we take out of Brexit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 1 minute, Ms. Griffin.
Friends, every day in this House, a member of another delegation says, please stay, we want you to remain. Britain's withdrawal from the European Union is a political tragedy that will damage the economic well-being and social fabric of the UK and diminish our country's standing in the world. We are British and European and part of the most successful social peace project in history. For the clean air we want for our children, to eradicating energy poverty, to workers' rights, that's got to be worth fighting for. I continue to believe that Britain has been and would be best served by being a member of the European Union. For our young people and future generations, keep the faith that one day we can come back. Thank you. Merci. Curtanon. A bientôt. And to you, Mairead Graham-Mahagat.
Graham-Mahagat. For now, for 1 minute, Madam Ritchie.
Thank you. Thank you, Monsieur Barnier. Thank you, Guy. Thank you to the European Parliament for the way that you have treated us through the negotiation on this withdrawal agreement. I'm shocked, but frankly not surprised, that it took your intervention to protect the rights of the EU 27 certificate citizens in Britain and the British citizens in the EU 27 countries. You people here have an opportunity next month to be generous to us again when you consider our status as citizens in your Europe going forward. Please be kind to us again. This shameful document, which I will vote against, is our reality today. I'm going home to fight for a better reality tomorrow.
Thank you. For 1 minute, Mr. Bardella. Just hold, sir.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous y voilà donc enfin. Il aura donc fallu 4 ans. 4 ans de fausses promesses, de reports, de multiples tentatives de sabotage. 4 ans pour que l'expression d'un peuple souverain par référendum soit enfin entendue. Les dirigeants de l'Union européenne veulent nous faire croire que la Grande-Bretagne est la grande perdante du Brexit et qu'elle s'apprête à sortir de l'histoire. Elle est au contraire en train d'y entrer en renouant avec les instruments qui fondent la liberté d'une nation. Les théories des peurs ne fonctionneront jamais contre le réel. Le FMI l'admet désormais lui-même, l'économie britannique va bien et ses perspectives de croissance sont prometteuses. Avec le Brexit, c'est un chapitre de l'histoire européenne qui se tourne, celui où l'on a cru à tort qu'affaiblir les souverainetés de chacun ferait la puissance de tous. Le vote de ce jour est un message d'espérance que le peuple britannique nous envoie. Il nous invite à refonder une construction européenne à la dérive afin de relever les défis de demain. Amis britanniques, cette Europe des coopérations, nous allons la construire pour vous donner envie d'en être. Vous quittez l'Union européenne, mais vous demeurez d'Europe. Bon vent vers la liberté.
For 1 minute, Mr. Miamaracas.
Ευχαριστώ, κυρία Πρόεδρε. Είναι αδιαφεσβήτητο σήμερα ότι η ψηφοφορία αυτή είναι ιστορικής σημασίας και θα ήθελα να δηλώσω καταρχήν απερίφραστα πως το Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο πρέπει να αποτελεί στενό σύμμαχο της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης και πως είναι ιδιαίτερα σημαντικό να υπάρξει αμοιβαία επωφελής εμπορική συμφωνία, ιδιαίτερα την ώρα που οι διεθνείς εμπορικοί κανόνες καταπατώνται και ο εμπορικός προστατευτισμός ξανακάνει την επανεμφάνισή του. Γι' αυτό, αγαπητοί συνάδελφοι, δυστυχώς το Brexit σήμερα είναι γεγονός και είναι μια στενάχωρη μέρα και ιδιαίτερα συναισθηματικά φορτισμένη. Το κατά πόσο αυτό το γεγονός θα είναι ένα ιστορικό λάθος για το Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο θα κριθεί από τους ιστορικούς του μέλλοντος. Αυτό το οποίο εμείς δεν πρέπει να επιτρέψουμε ως Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση είναι να αποτελέσει ένα ιστορικό λάθος για την Ένωση. Γιατί πρέπει να διδαχτούμε από αυτά τα οποία οδήγησαν στο Brexit, να πράξουμε, να ηγηθούμε και να δείξουμε πως οι αξίες της Ευρώπης είναι αδιαπραγμάτευτες, διαχρονικές, απόλυτα αναγκαίες, γιατί όπως σοφά είπε ο Ζαν Μονέ, η Ευρώπη θα σφυριλατηθεί από κρίσεις και θα είναι το αποτέλεσμα των λύσεων που υιοθετήθηκαν από αυτές τις κρίσεις. Και αυτή η κρίση πρέπει να μετρήσει και να μετρήσει θετικά για την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση.
Mr. Benefei, for 1 minute.
Grazie Presidente, oggi è un giorno triste per chi come me crede nell'Unione sempre più stretta e nell'Europa federale. Rimane un dato storico e politico che nessun nazionalismo potrà cancellare. La Brexit non potrà cancellare le profonde connessioni tra la società europea e quella britannica, le appartenenze comuni, i valori che condividiamo, i nostri rapporti umani e culturali, prima che economici. Come socialisti e democratici da domani lavoreremo affinché Unione Europea e Regno Unito continuino ad affrontare insieme le grandi questioni del nostro tempo, dalla lotta alle disuguaglianze al cambiamento climatico. Ai colleghi che oggi ci lasciano voglio dire grazie a tutti voi per lo straordinario lavoro fatto insieme e ai compagni del Partito Laburista dico grazie, grazie per aver lavorato insieme a noi per il pane e per le rose, for bread and roses. So che è solo un arrivederci, è il nostro destino continuare a camminare insieme. Grazie.
Thank you. Madam Bunting for 1 minute.
I can't quite believe this is happening. However, I love the UK and I will do everything I can to make sure that our future, whatever it is bright and successful. However, this is a bad deal for Britain and the fault for that lies at the feet of the British government. The deal takes Britain outside of the customs union and the single market, something certain leading leavers said need never happen. In it, Boris Johnson has weakened support for workers' rights, and he did that after he put the deal to the British people. It adds more red tape, more delays, more barriers to Brits who want to work and do business with the EU, who is our largest trading partner, and it removes opportunities for young people in Britain. I thank all of my colleagues here for your lovely, kind words today. We will miss you. I thank Guy and Michel Barnier and this Brexit steering group for the huge amount of work that they will put into this deal. But I will not be blackmailed by Boris Johnson into supporting a deal that is fundamentally bad for Britain.
Thank you. 1 minute, Mr. Morishan.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleagues, today marks the end of populism in the debate regarding Brexit. Starting tomorrow, we need to start to work on our future relationship, and that needs to be based on reasoning and on facts. And we have to recognise reality. European students want to continue to study in UK universities and British students want to continue to study in European universities. European and British researchers want to continue to work together and businesses on both sides of the channel want to continue to invest on the other side. We also have to recognise that the number of British citizens demanding EU citizenship has increased every year after the referendum. So we need to work on a good future relationship and we need to recognise that a close relationship is a good relationship. Nevertheless, of course, we also know that the European Union and the United Kingdom will not be married anymore starting the 1st of February, but we want to be friends. And the people of the United Kingdom should know that here in the European Parliament there is a majority of members who want to be friends of the British people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Horwood for 1 minute. Microphone, and you can start from now.
Madam, I'm voting against this agreement because it's a bad deal for Britain, and I, for one, will not go gently into that good night. But before that vote, I'd like to say thank you to all parliamentary colleagues, to Dacian Ciolos and friends in Renew Europe, whom I've been proud to serve as a Vice President. And thank you to the EU for all the support given to my region and my country over decades in education, science and medicine, in shared prosperity, opportunity and support for business, in protection of the environment and workers' rights, and by preserving Europe's peace. And let me tell you, my parents survived the war we remembered earlier, and they knew exactly what they were voting for in 1975. And one special thank you to our translators, who've had to help the Brits rather more than most. And I apologise to them that I'm now going to try and speak in more than one language to deliver one last message on behalf of my children as myself. Wir werden wiederkommen. Ne vom intoace. Wir kommen terug. Nous reviendrons. Volveremos. Beimish arash. Wir kommen tillbaka. Retornaremo. We will be back.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Please. We do have another speaker. Mr. Horwood, thank you. Please resume your seats. Thank you. Michel Bellamé for 1 minute.
Madame la Présidente, chers collègues, avant tout, nous voudrions dire nos remerciements à tous nos collègues britanniques pour leur contribution au travail effectué ici, notre respect pour le grand peuple qu'ils représentent et notre gratitude à l'égard de ce peuple auquel nous devons, au regard de notre histoire, notre liberté, celle qu'ils nous ont acquise au prix de leur sang. Nous devons évidemment poursuivre maintenant cette histoire et nous faisons confiance à Michel Barnier pour préparer notre relation future. Nous devons construire ensemble le partenariat sur les questions de sécurité, d'économie, d'écologie. Et je voudrais mentionner en particulier la question de la pêche qui nous tient tellement à cœur. Nous avons tant à partager, il faut que cette amitié se poursuive maintenant. Mes chers collègues, ne nous voilons pas la face. Le Brexit est aussi un message d'alerte. La défiance qui s'est exprimée à l'occasion de ce référendum doit être pour nous un avertissement. Nous ne résoudrons pas les problèmes de l'Europe en méprisant cette défiance ou en la condamnant. Nous ne résoudrons ce problème qu'en reconstruisant une Europe qui puisse susciter la confiance des citoyens de nos pays, en faisant la preuve de son efficacité et en montrant qu'elle peut renforcer nos démocraties et servir nos libertés. Merci beaucoup.
Grazie. E adesso la parola a Michel Barnier. Prego.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis très touché, pour vous dire la vérité, au terme de ce débat qui a été très émouvant, à quelques moments particuliers, grave, qui est important, aux côtés de la présidente Ursula von der Leyen, de vous dire quelques mots pour conclure. Le Royaume-Uni, à la suite d'un référendum où s'est exprimée une majorité de citoyens démocratiquement, a choisi de quitter l'Union. Nous avons, pour beaucoup d'entre nous, regretté, et nous continuerons de regretter ce vote, mais nous l'avons respecté. Et donc la tâche qui nous a été confiée à la Commission par les gouvernements, par vous, a été de travailler pour organiser ce retrait. Et si le traité qui vous est soumis a une qualité, mesdames et messieurs, je reprendrai le mot de Guy Verhofstadt, c'est d'organiser le retrait du Royaume-Uni de manière ordonnée. Le Brexit, bien plus et bien davantage que tous ceux qui l'ont voulu ne l'ont expliqué ou compris, a des conséquences innombrables Je n'ai cessé de vous le dire, sur le plan humain et social, sur le plan technique et juridique, sur le plan financier et économique. Et ce n'est pas fini. Et ce que nous avons essayé de faire dans ce traité, objectivement, avec patience et avec respect, ça a été d'apporter des réponses ou des assurances juridiques pour toutes celles et tous ceux et pour tous les secteurs où le Brexit, comme un divorce, crée des incertitudes innombrables. Et d'abord pour les citoyens et leurs droits. Ça a été depuis le début de cette négociation votre priorité. Nous avons travaillé pour ce traité dans cet esprit, un retrait ordonné. Et nous avons beaucoup travaillé. Une centaine de réunions du Brexit Steering Group, 17 séances plénières. Et puis j'ai eu l'honneur de rendre compte devant beaucoup, la plupart de vos groupes, à plusieurs reprises. À ce moment, je voudrais dire un mot particulier à Guy Verhofstadt pour l'intelligence et l'objectivité à laquelle il a dirigé les travaux pendant 3 ans du Brexit Steering Group, à chacune et chacun des membres de ce groupe et à tous ceux qui ont travaillé pour ce groupe, notamment le secrétariat général du Parlement et vos collaborateurs. Vous me permettrez de vous dire que nous allons continuer dans l'année qui vient dans le même esprit, avec le même respect, avec la même objectivité, sans aucune agressivité, mais en défendant fermement les intérêts de l'Union et de ses États membres, sur la ligne et selon les principes rappelés tout à l'heure par notre présidente Ursula von der Leyen, pour la future relation. En ayant toujours la perspective, moi j'ai toujours travaillé avec cette perspective, qu'au delà du Brexit, le Royaume-Uni reste là, partenaire proche sur le plan de l'économie, allié, comme il l'a toujours été, et ami. Et nous allons donc travailler pour recréer un nouveau cadre juridique pour cette alliance entre l'Union européenne et le Royaume-Uni, pour consolider cette amitié et faire fonctionner ce partenariat. Nous aurons une deuxième tâche, mesdames et messieurs les députés, monsieur le président, qui n'est pas négligeable et qu'il ne faut pas oublier, c'est de mettre en œuvre cet accord dans toutes ses dimensions. Et ça va être notre travail cette année pour qu'il soit opérationnel à la fin de l'année. Je pense aux droits des citoyens et je pense aussi précisément à l'Irlande et à l'Irlande du Nord où la paix reste très fragile. Voilà, vous me permettrez à mon tour, comme l'a fait notre président, de saluer l'ensemble des députés britanniques et toutes celles et tous ceux qui, d'une manière ou d'une autre, ont travaillé depuis 47 ans à la construction de ce projet européen. Personnellement, j'ai le souvenir de plusieurs d'entre vous et de plusieurs élus, je pense à Andrew Duff et à Richard Corbett dans les travaux de la Convention. Je pense aussi pendant les 2 moments où j'ai eu l'honneur d'être commissaire européen au marché intérieur et avant à la politique régionale, à Malcolm Harbour, à Vicky Ford, à Sharon Bowles et à tant et tant d'entre vous dans la diversité des groupes que vous représentez, avec lesquels j'ai eu toujours des discussions fructueuses et importantes et utiles. Voilà, je voulais vous remercier à titre personnel. Vous me permettrez juste de conclure par 3 brefs messages. Le premier, c'est que tout au long de cette négociation et dans l'année qui vient, notre tâche va être de traiter les conséquences du Brexit. Et je recommande, comme plusieurs d'entre vous l'ont dit avec beaucoup de force, que dans notre responsabilité politique, et je reste un homme politique, nous prenions du temps pour écouter le sentiment populaire qui s'est exprimé à l'occasion du Brexit, qui s'exprime aussi dans beaucoup de nos régions. Donc nous prenions du temps pour tirer les leçons du Brexit. Mon deuxième point s'appuie sur une conférence qu'a donnée un jour un homme que j'aime bien, que je respecte, qui a été mon collègue à la Commission européenne, conservateur et britannique, Chris Patten. Chris Patten, un jour à Dublin, a fait une conférence qu'il a conclue par cette question: la défense de l'intérêt national peut-elle être uniquement nationale? La défense de l'intérêt national peut-elle être seulement uniquement nationale? On pourrait poser la question d'une autre manière. Ne faut-il pas être européen en plus d'être patriote? Je dis bien en plus, pas à la place d'être patriote. Et moi, j'ai la conviction que l'on peut, que l'on doit être patriote, je le suis passionnément, et en même temps européen. Et que cette dimension européenne donne davantage de force à notre patriotisme national. Voilà. Mr. President, let me finish with a short message I passed in Belfast on Monday at Queen's University. In this new beginning, I would really and sincerely like to wish the UK well.
Monsieur Barnier, adesso la parola al ministro Brejňac.
Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, with your vote tonight and adoption by the Council tomorrow of its decision to conclude the withdrawal agreement, we will soon be able to move to another, more positive step in the Brexit process. The scope of the withdrawal agreement, as well as the ambition on the future relations with the UK, imply that we will have to remain vigilant as regards first and foremost the preservation of citizens' rights, be it during the transition period or under whatever future relationship with the United Kingdom. But our vigilance will have to be no less thorough when considering the intended economic partnership, where strong safeguards and robust governance will be called for to protect the integrity of the EU single market and the competitive position of EU firms. We will therefore count on your cooperation in this respect as well. Although we are sincerely sad to see a member state leaving, the European Union and the United Kingdom share a long history together, and this should truly be a new start point for building a close relationship in the future, based on mutual respect and equality. Thank you very much once again for your attention.
Grazie, la discussione è chiusa. Procediamo ora alla votazione su questo punto. Vi informo che le dichiarazioni di voto saranno prese in considerazione domani dopo le votazioni. Siamo pronti? Relazione Verhofstadt. Per appello nominale la votazione è aperta. La votazione è chiusa. Hanno votato 683 deputati, favorevoli 621, contrari 49, astenuti 13. Commovente. Sì. Onorevoli colleghi, colleghe e colleghi, il Parlamento ha ormai votato, ha dato la propria approvazione a larga maggioranza al recesso del Regno Unito dall'Unione Europea e ora aspetta al Consiglio nella giornata di domani concedere la sua approvazione finale in modo da concludere le formalità necessarie affinché il Regno Unito possa lasciare l'Unione Europea alla mezzanotte ora di Bruxelles del 31 gennaio. Desidero cogliere questa opportunità prima di firmare l'atto ufficiale per condividere con voi alcune osservazioni. Naturalmente siamo tutti rattristati profondamente dal pensare di essere arrivati a questo punto e che un membro, partner e amico di lunga data dell'Unione Europea abbia deciso di lasciare la famiglia dell'Unione. Ricordo ancora la sensazione di sconcerto che tutti abbiamo avuto quando nel giugno del 2016 si diffuse la notizia della decisione del Regno Unito di lasciare l'Unione Europea. Ovviamente abbiamo sempre rispettato pienamente la decisione del popolo del Regno Unito e la sua volontà di costruire un futuro diverso al di fuori dell'Unione Europea. A nome del Parlamento desidero esprimere ai colleghi che oggi ci lasceranno, sarà l'ultima plenaria, la nostra gratitudine e i più profondi sentimenti di gratitudine per il contributo che hanno offerto nel corso degli anni. La vostra presenza, amici britannici, ha arricchito la nostra istituzione ed è certo che sentiremo la vostra mancanza. Perdiamo tutti colleghi e alleati con i quali intratteniamo strette relazioni e con i quali abbiamo lavorato fianco a fianco in questi anni qui al Parlamento europeo. 50 anni di integrazione non possono dissolversi facilmente. Dovremo impegnarci ora tutti per costruire nuove relazioni, mettendo sempre al centro gli interessi e la protezione dei diritti dei cittadini e sappiamo che ci saranno anche momenti difficili. Sono sicuro però che sapremo superare qualsiasi divergenza e trovare sempre un punto d'incontro. Lasciate l'Unione Europea, ma continuerete naturalmente a far parte dell'Europa per i valori che ci tengono insieme, che ci uniscono profondamente. Cari amici britannici, naturalmente dirsi addio è troppo impegnativo e definitivo ed è per questo che insieme a tutti i colleghi dico soltanto arrivederci. E voglio salutarvi con le parole che diceva Jo Cox, la deputata britannica uccisa durante una campagna elettorale. Abbiamo molto di più in comune di quanto ci divide. Grazie. E adesso qui firmerò la lettera che trasmette al Consiglio l'approvazione del Parlamento alla conclusione dell'accordo sul recesso del Regno Unito di Gran Bretagna e Irlanda del Nord dall'Unione Europea. Grazie per la vostra collaborazione. Cari colleghi, grazie per la vostra presenza.
Dear colleagues, thank you for attending.
È una giornata molto importante ed emotivamente intensa.
This is a very important day and also an extremely emotional one.
E naturalmente vorrei condividere con voi, in amicizia, alcune osservazioni personali, oltre quelle che ho fatto in plenaria.
And I'd like to share with you, in a true spirit of friendship, some personal comments in addition to what I said in the House.
Lo dico molto francamente, con grande sincerità, che mi dispiace di trovarmi a presiedere il Parlamento europeo in una giornata in cui il Regno Unito lascia l'Unione Europea.
And to be quite honest and frank and sincere with you all, I'm really very sorry to be the President of a European Parliament on a day such as today with the departure of the UK.
Anche se, come ho detto, dobbiamo, e lo abbiamo sempre fatto, rispettato la volontà dei cittadini britannici e delle istituzioni britanniche.
Although, as I've already said, we always respected the will of the British citizens.
È stata una decisione sovrana e naturalmente noi dobbiamo accettarla.
This was a sovereign decision which we must accept.
Dopo quasi 50 anni dobbiamo prendere strade diverse.
After virtually 50 years together, our roads will now separate and go different ways.
E la cosa non è facile.
And this is no easy thing.
Naturalmente la nostra vicinanza geografica, la nostra storia, i nostri valori condivisi e il nostro partenariato di lunga data ci accompagneranno nelle stagioni che verranno.
The fact that we are close in geographical terms, in historical terms, of values which we share, our partnership, all of this will go with us in the future.
Tuttavia, anche se rimarremo amici, continueremo a collaborare, il rapporto sarà inevitabilmente diverso.
However, even if we do remain friends and we do continue to cooperate, our relationship is going to change.
Il Regno Unito è stato un membro importante e influente nella costruzione europea.
The UK was an important and influential partner in the building of Europe.
E il contributo di tanti parlamentari, di tanti amici funzionari, dei collaboratori, di tutta la rappresentanza britannica al Parlamento europeo e presso le istituzioni europee è stata davvero decisiva.
The considerable contribution of the members of the European Parliament, all the officials, the collaborators, all of those who worked with us in Parliament and in the European institutions have undoubtedly contributed significantly to
È un contributo che ci ha reso migliori.
And this contribution of theirs has made us better.
E di questo noi siamo profondamente riconoscenti.
And we are really very much in your debt, very grateful.
Ho lavorato con molti di voi, con i vostri predecessori, sia come deputato del Parlamento e poi come Presidente. E ho sempre trovato grande interesse nel lavorare con i parlamentari britannici.
I've worked with your predecessors, both as Member of Parliament and as President of the European Parliament, and I've always found a great interest and, in my work with.
C'è una domanda che mi perseguita, che vale per noi in questo caso.
There's one question which keeps on going through my mind, and it's a question which applies to us in this instance.
Forse non abbiamo fatto tutto il possibile per comunicare messaggi giusti all'opinione pubblica britannica e ai cittadini britannici.
Maybe we didn't do our utmost in terms of communication of what our message was to the British public.
È per questo che è un giorno triste.
And that's why today is a sad day.
Adesso naturalmente abbiamo la necessità di aprire una stagione nuova.
Of course, now a new season is about to start.
Di cercare di fare tutti gli interessi dei nostri cittadini, sia quelli dell'Unione sia quelli del Regno Unito.
And we must all work in the interest of our citizens, both the citizens of the EU and those of the UK.
Il valore della politica è in relazione alla qualità della vita dei nostri cittadini.
The values which count in the political life of our societies are the values which enhance the lives of our citizens.
E naturalmente di questo dobbiamo essere tutti molto responsabili.
And we must all shoulder our responsibility in this respect.
Vorrei che anche in un giorno come questo non si rinunciasse alla nostra amicizia.
I would also like to ensure that even on a day like today that we do not give up our friendship.
Che deve essere un valore custodito con grande cura.
And that friendship must be a value which we all cherish very, very carefully.
Poi magari la storia si assegnerà il compito anche di procedere in senso inverso, chissà, non lo sappiamo.
And history might one day give others the task of turning back and reverting back. Who knows? Nobody knows.
Non siamo in grado di prevedere il futuro.
We cannot predict the future.
Ma al futuro vogliamo arrivarci con amicizia.
But we want to go towards that future in friendship.
Ecco perché diciamo che non è un addio, ma è un arrivederci.
So that is why we're not saying farewell, but au revoir.
E naturalmente la mia gratitudine, la gratitudine del Parlamento, dei parlamentari, dei servizi del Parlamento a tutti voi.
And I would like to express my gratitude, the gratitude of Parliament, all members of Parliament, and those who work for this institution.
E nel dirvi grazie vorrei lasciare la parola ai capi delegazione in modo che possiate condividere questi pensieri e naturalmente la stagione difficile che si apre.
And in thanking you, I would like to pass the floor over to the heads of delegation so that they can share their views, our views, and also work towards this new difficult period which we're about to embark upon.
Per adesso la storia è questa, ma non è detto che finisca qui.
So
Grazie.
This is history and how it's gone so far, but maybe the full story has not yet been told. Thank
Grazie.
you.
I kindly ask Richard Corbett to take the floor.
Thank you, David, President. Thank you for inviting us. This is not the place to repeat the debates that we have just had in the chamber, so I will not go into the issue of whether Brexit is still something the British people wanted, because that is doubtful, or how we got to this point. I will simply say that in leaving, many of us will keep a very moving memory of our time in the European Parliament, however long or short a period we've been here. This is a Parliament where you learn something new every day. You're working with colleagues from 28 different countries. There is no Parliament like it anywhere in the world. And it's a Parliament that, unlike some national parliaments, does actually shape policies and legislation. Many national parliaments, the government has a governing majority, it puts something to the Parliament and it knows that will get through without amendment. Here, a first draft really is a draft. We work on it and we talk things through. You get things done in this Parliament by explaining, persuading, talking, parler, parlement, parliament. That's what parliaments are supposed to do. So as ordinary backbenchers, and all of us are backbenchers here, there's no ministers, you actually feel you are contributing something, you are achieving something, you are shaping policy in a way that you cannot do back home. But it is especially the personal relationships, the friendships that we have made, working together on so many different issues, getting to know each other across national borders and, to a greater extent than in my own parliament, across political dividing lines as well. That is something we will all cherish for the rest of our lives. And I urge you to keep that spirit going. You will go ahead without us, but building this democratic European Union, where all decisions have to be approved by an elected parliament as well as the elected ministers in the Council of Ministers. That double democratic safeguard, that is very important. It's what distinguishes the European Union from the WTO, the World Bank, the IMF, all those other bureaucratic organizations. Here, living democracy is part of the structure. Let us cherish that, let us make it work better, and let us, those of us who are leaving, watch you take this further in our absence while we are on sabbatical. Thank you very much.
I kindly ask Mrs. Caroline Woden to take the floor.
I've only been a member of this Parliament for 7 months, but what a journey it has been. And first of all, on behalf of the Liberal Democrats, I'd like to pay tribute to all the staff in the Parliament, all the services, all our colleagues, everybody who has made this a truly memorable and wonderful experience. We live in a world that is ever more interconnected. Flights, technology, FaceTime, they have all changed the world forever. A virus that came from a bat in a Chinese market has reached Paris. Wars in the Middle East cause migrant crises in Greece and northern France. Our technology is at risk from hostile states. How should we rise to these challenges? By working together, by doing what is done so well in this Parliament, talking to each other across parties, across groups, across national divides. Democratically elected politicians working together to find solutions that can be agreed by the majority. Something we never see at Westminster. A conversation and cooperation that has been woefully lacking since June the 24th, 2016. The point at which half the country said, no, we don't want to do this, and who have since been ignored by successive Conservative governments. Make no mistake, Britain as a country will lose influence on Friday. We will no longer have a seat at the table of one of the world's major power players. We will no longer be able to guide and push legislation that will affect millions of our closest neighbours, and much of it legislation that will still affect us, be it our physical environment, our trading terms, or flows of migrants that cross our continent. We are still part of Europe. We are still Europeans. Millions of people in the UK, in my firm belief, the majority of people in the UK want us to be part of this unique, multinational union of nations, which has brought former warring foes together and which works hard to ensure peace and stability. And never has that been more obvious than today. We have built the strongest pro-European movement, ironically, of any member state, and we are not going away. British people don't take to the streets very easily, but millions of us did, and millions of us still care. Brexit is a bad mistake. And I'm going to repeat something I said in the chamber because I was going to say my friends from the Brexit Party, let me say my colleagues from the Brexit Party weren't there to hear me, so I shall repeat it for you. Brexit is the result of an ideological divide in our oldest political party, a party that should have and would have split decades ago if it wasn't for a voting system that is undemocratic and unfit for purpose. The only silver lining in this very dark cloud is that the division caused by Brexit has to be the catalyst for something even bigger, a wholesale reform of our democracy in the UK, which will mean that our country can never again be hijacked by a vanity project that had no basis in reality. We will now hold our government to account every step of the way. They have promised us the earth, so let's see if they can now deliver it. For now, though, to all of our dear friends here in the European Parliament, we say merci, au revoir. This is not goodbye. Thank you.
I kindly ask Mrs. Molly Scott-Cato to take the floor.
Thank you so much for being here to see us off, to see us on our way on what for us is a very sad day. I must say I think a number of British representatives have proved in the chamber today that the British tradition of the stiff upper lip is rather on the decline these days, and I have to say I was obviously one of those. But for me, I'm not going to do that British thing and say, never mind, move along. This matters far too much for me to do that. I think we should say that we continue to think that being at the heart of the EU is what's best for our country. I haven't changed my mind about that, and I will continue to say that. And if you agree with me, please join me in continuing to support this absolutely amazing project that we've been a part of here for however many years we've been here. I also think it's really important that we acknowledge the grief that we and many of our fellow citizens are going through, and the real sense of vulnerability and fear that is being felt by many of our European citizens. I say European citizens, but they're basically people that live in our communities and who have felt undermined, have been subjected to hate speech, have been attacked and told to leave and to go home from the places that have been their homes for 40 years. This is a task for all of us British people, going back to that country where fear has been spread. It's our job to model good citizenship by supporting them, by showing them solidarity. At particular times when the negotiations get tough, you can give the people a yellow rose as a sign of friendship. Please make those gestures because it means a huge amount to those people who have been left vulnerable by a decision that was beyond their control. I must say, in this state of grief, I've appreciated so much the solidarity from friends and colleagues here, and I know that goes for my other British friends as well. I think the way that you have stood up for us and hugged us and continued to express solidarity with us when, quite honestly, many of the people in our country have behaved shamefully towards you has been absolutely amazing, and thank you for that. Now, for me, and I think I can say for all my Green colleagues and for other colleagues here, Europe is essentially a project for peace. I'm a Quaker, and for me, peace is absolutely central. You are obliged to defend that. It's been an extraordinary thing that at the age of 56, I haven't had to fight in this continent. Nobody of my age or several decades older has had to fight. And I don't want my children to change that. I don't want my children to have to go and fight in a war in our continent. And the way we prevent that is by continuing to protect this peace project. And we also have to continue the role of Europe as a beacon in the world, a beacon for human rights, a beacon for environmental standards, a beacon for animal welfare, and for rights at work. In or out, we must recognise the role that Europe plays and protect it, because we are protecting this amazing achievement against a serious attack. If I have any criticism of what's happened in the EU since the referendum, it's that people said that's a strange British problem. Absolutely not. Brexit is an attack on the European Union and an attack on the European project. We all need this project and we must defend it. We see the rise of nationalism, we see the rise of aggressive and rude behaviour, we see decline in democratic standards. If you believe in democracy, you fight for democracy because it is under threat in our continent, in my country, right now. Please do what you must. The founding fathers of this institution, I have to say they were all fathers, so the founding fathers of this institution understood this important role that the European Union plays in supporting peace. We have to make sure that that's shared with younger generations. In our country, we must not allow a gap to open up between our young people and young people across the rest of the continent. And I particularly look to the young people because I believe they're going to bring us back. And I look forward to the day when I'm going to be sitting here with lots of you, or perhaps standing, let's hope it's not that long, and we're all going to be celebrating our return to our rightful place at the heart of Europe. Thank you.
I kindly ask Mr. Geoffrey Van Orden to take the floor.
President, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, may I just say there's been so much goodwill and nice sentiments expressed. I don't want to introduce a sour note, but I have to say to colleagues from other nations and indeed to the media that there are opposition parties in the United Kingdom who are giving an entirely wrong impression about the state of the British people and the British nation and their sentiments. They question the results of the referendum in 2016, but if they had any doubts about that, we had a general election on December the 12th, which made it absolutely clear that the British people wanted a Conservative government. And
today, the Senate will conduct up to 8 hours of questions to the parties delivered in writing to the
led by Boris Johnson in order to get Brexit done. That was the quite clear will of the British people, and what you're hearing from some of the opposition parties is totally disproportionate, and I would ask you to put it on one side. Mr. President, you used...
As a reminder, the two sides will alternate, and answers should be kept to 5 minutes or less.
Said that we can't predict the future, we can't foresee the future, but we can help shape the future. And that means at this moment...
The majority side will lead off with a question from the senator from Maine.
Mr. Chief Justice.
The senator is recognized.
I send a question to the desk.
We must negotiate a very good agreement between the United Kingdom and the European Union.
On behalf of myself, Senator Murkowski, and Senator Romney.
Agreement and other arrangements that will take us forward in a useful partnership of friendship in the future. It will also, of course, be a time when Britain can look to the rest of the world, the other side of the Brexit coin, besides our relationship with...
This is a question for the Council for the President. If President Trump had more than one motive for...
is our relationship with the rest of the world. We're not leaving Europe, by the way. We are leaving the European Union.
Alleged conduct, such as the pursuit of personal political advantage, rooting out corruption, and the promotion of national interests, how should the Senate consider more than one motive in its assessment of Article 1?
And we will now enhance our relationships with all those great countries in Asia and in North America and in so many other parts. So,
Mr. Chief Justice.
Of course, some of us have been here quite a long time. I spent 30 years as a soldier, and I'm glad Molly Scott Cato didn't have to take up arms.
Senators, in response to that question, there were really two layers to my answer, because I'd like to point out first...
I deal with a lot of difficult little conflicts in my time. I started life in Borneo, spent many years in Northern Ireland, and I'm sad that we have...
Even if there was only one motive, the theory of abuse of power that the House...
Representatives of a terrorist group actually speaking in this Parliament. But, so there has been conflict, and our armed forces have kept...
Presented that subjective motive alone can become the basis for an impeachable offense, we believe is constitutionally...
safe. And of course, what keeps Europe safe is NATO and the NATO alliance and our great transatlantic alliance with the United States. And that's
defective. It is not a permissible way to frame a claim of an impeachable offense under the Constitution. So
something we cherish greatly. And for those that think that Britain has lost power, remember, we are still a member, a permanent member.
And address the question of mixed motive. if there were a motive that was a public interest, but also some.
We are the leading country in the Commonwealth. We are the leading European power in the NATO alliance.
Interest. We think it follows even more clearly that that cannot possibly be the basis for an impeachable offense.
It has a great future. Let's ensure that it is a future in friendship with the European Union. No sour grapes from any.
And even the House managers, as they have framed their case, they have explained, and this is pointed out in our trial memorandum, that.
Can I conclude by saying a big thank you? Thank you to my colleagues here in the European Parliament.
The committee report, they specify that the standard they have to meet is to show that this is.
Anthea McIntyre, Noshina Mubarak, Dan Hannan, and indeed for colleagues that have joined us.
Investigation. It's a bogus investigation. These investigations there's not any legitimate public purpose. That's the language, any legitimate public purpose. That's the standard they've set for themselves in being able to make this claim under their theory of what an abuse of power.
Since in the last few weeks. A big thank you to them. A big thank you to our staff.
So it's a very demanding standard that they've set for themselves to meet. And they've even said they came up and.
A big thank you to the ECR group, which we were instrumental in founding in order to try and get the European Union to move in a different direction.
Talked a lot about the Bidens. They talked a lot about these issues in 2016, election interference, because they were saying there's not even a scintilla.
You could say we didn't quite achieve that objective, but we cast a stone into the pond and those ripples will expand. And a big thank you also to all those from many countries here, MEPs, the officials in the Parliament, Mr. President, you, for the courtesy and kindness that we've had from so many people. And I must think about our predecessors as Conservative MEPs here over many years, many of whom had a very different view on the European Union to what we do today. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck, and let's try and make sure we have a partnership of friendship in the future together. Thank you so much.
I kindly ask Mrs. Diane Dodds to take the floor.
Can I, first of all, say thank you to everyone who has gathered here today and to the President for organising this event after the plenary session. Today and this week, of course, for many of us will mark the end of our European journey in the European institutions. I have often said, both at home and indeed here, that it has been a great honour as well as a great responsibility. I want to specifically say thank you to 4 presidents of the European Parliament, President Buzek, President Schulz, President Tajani and President Sassoli for allowing me to be part of the Conference of Presidents groups. I often joked with Emmanuel that group leaders come and go, but the independent member of the Conference of Presidents was pretty much there to stay. So I wish you well as you go forward, and I hope for good things for you all. Can I say a thank you also to Emmanuel from the non-attached group. His guidance, his friendship has been invaluable. Today marks a formal point when the United Kingdom will leave the institutions of the European Union. It is a new journey, a new pathway. We wish our European friends well. We hope that as we develop a new relationship, as we get to that new free trade deal, that we will be able to work together and have a prosperous relationship both in trade and security and in many other issues as we move forward. Personally, I leave here to take up a new role in Northern Ireland as the Economy Minister. The withdrawal agreement presents many challenges to Northern Ireland, and I look forward to being able to work with you to get the flexibilities that Northern Ireland needs to ensure that it has a secure access to the UK's internal market as well as to the European Peace Union. Finally, I want to also acknowledge the contribution that you have made in relation to the Peace Fund. It is and has been very valuable and important in building peace. Thank you.
Thank you. As the head of the biggest delegation here in the European Union, I am actually not representing myself or the other MEPs. I am here to represent those men and women who put their faith in the Brexit Party, who put their faith in the vote that they made in 2016. My mother sent me a text, and I just wanted to read it because I think it's very apt. There are tall ships and long ships and ships that sail the sea, but the best ships are friendships, and may that always be. I believe strongly in friendship, and I believe that through an FTA, Britain will continue to be a good neighbour and a good friend of the European Union. But we will be independent. We will forge our own way as our people have asked us to. The friends you choose will either help or hinder your success. My recommendation to the European Union is choose us as your friend. Make us your ally. Give us a decent trade deal, because no matter what happens, we mean this, at the end of 2020, we are leaving deal or no deal. Thank you.